Whispers between walls. The fluorescent lights of the laboratory flickered as Dahlia Winters adjusted her microscope. At 34, she had already revolutionized 3 different treatment protocols for aggressive cancers. But this was different. The compound showed promise unlike anything she'd ever seen. "Dr. Winters, you're here late again." She didn't need to look up to recognize the voice. Nathaniel Reed, CEO of Helix Pharmaceuticals, had a distinctive baritone that carried authority without arrogance or rarity in the corporate world. At 41, he had transformed a failing pharmaceutical company into a research powerhouse. Through sheer determination and scientific integrity, "The cells won't analyze themselves, Mr. Reed," she replied. Finally glancing up, Nathaniel leaned against the doorframe, his tailored suit contrasting with the sterile lab environment. "The Phase 1 results look promising." "More than promising," Dahlia corrected, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. "The efficacy rates are unprecedented for advanced pancreatic cancer. We could be looking at a genuine breakthrough." Walked closer, examining the data on her computer screen. The board is excited. Nervous, but excited. They should be. If these results hold through Phase 2, we're changing the landscape of cancer treatment. Their shoulders almost touched as they reviewed the charts. Dahlia became acutely aware of his call and subtle notes of cedar and bergamot. She stepped away, clearing her throat. "The team deserves credit," Nathaniel said, straightening his posture. "But we both know this compound was your brainchild. The science is collaborative," she deflected, though pride warmed her cheeks. "Humility doesn't change facts." His eyes held hers a moment too long. "The board wants to fast-track this. I've authorized additional resources for your team." "Thank you," Dahlia hesitated. "But I need to be honest, we can't rush this."
Ow!
"Even with promising early results, we need rigorous testing." Nathaniel nodded. "That's why you're leading this. Your integrity is... refreshing." The unspoken contrast hung between them. His predecessor had been ousted for rushing trials and falsifying data. Nathaniel had been brought in to rebuild Helix's reputation, and his first major decision had been recruiting Dahlia from a prestigious research institute. "Will you be at the research presentation tomorrow?" she asked. "Front row?" His eyes. "I wouldn't miss your presentation for anything." After he left, Dahlia exhaled slowly. Their interactions had always been professional, but lately, something had shifted. She found herself anticipating their meetings, planning her words carefully, noticing details about him she had no business noticing. The company policy was explicit: no romantic relationships between employees of different ranks. As CEO, Nathaniel stood at the pinnacle of the hierarchy. As lead researcher on their most promising project, Dahlia reported directly to him. Any hint of impropriety could jeopardize not just their careers, but the treatment itself. She returned to her microscope, trying to focus on cell structures rather than the lingering scent of his cologne or the way his voice softened when they were alone. The compound under her lens represented hope for thousands of patients. She couldn't risk that for feelings she had no right to entertain. Yet as she recorded her observations, Dahlia couldn't help wondering if Nathaniel felt the same. Inexplicable pull when they were together, like two elements with undeniable chemical affinity, fighting the inevitable reaction between them. Chemical reactions. The Mountain Research Retreat was intended to foster innovation among Helix's top scientists, not to blur professional boundaries. Yet as Dahlia stepped onto the cabin's porch overlooking the misty valley, she found Nathaniel. Already there, nursing a cup of coffee in the pre-dawn light. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked, offering her his thermos. "Too many thoughts racing," she admitted, accepting the warm container. Their fingers brushed momentarily, sending an inappropriate jolt through her system. "The latest trial modifications can wait until sunrise," he finished. "Just breathe for a moment, Dr. Winters." She smiled at his formality. "We're in the wilderness at 5A.M. "I think you can call me Dahlia." "Dahlia," he repeated, as if testing how her name felt on his tongue. "Then I'm Nathaniel, not Mr. Reed or Sir or whatever corporate title usually stands between us." They fell into surprisingly comfortable conversation as the sun gradually illuminated the landscape. Dahlia learned he had once been a research scientist himself, before being pulled into management after developing a groundbreaking HIV medication. I miss the lab sometimes, he confessed. The purity of discovery, the moment when a hypothesis proves truth, there's nothing like it in boardrooms. Why did you leave it behind? She asked. Nathaniel gazed at the horizon. My research partner died from an illness our company wouldn't pursue treatment for because the market was too small. I realized I needed to be where decisions were made if I wanted to change things. And have you changed things? I'm trying. Supporting your pancreatic cancer research despite the board's initial hesitation as part of that? He turned to face her directly. Profit margins aren't everything, despite what my MBA might suggest. Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition of shared values that transcended professional roles. Later that day, during a group hike, they naturally fell into step together, lagging behind the others. Discussion of enzyme inhibitors and clinical trial structures evolved into more personal territory. His childhood dreams of curing cancer after losing his grandfather, her determination to democratize medical research. The compound formula is groundbreaking, he said as they paused by a stream, but I worry about accessibility. I've been thinking about that too, Dahlia admitted. What good is a breakthrough if only the wealthy can afford it? Exactly. The board wants premium pricing. But I've been working on alternative models. Their conversation continued through dinner and into the evening, when they found themselves alone by the fire pit after others had retired. The flames cast a warm glow across Nathaniel's features, softening the lines of responsibility etched into his face. Tomorrow's presentation to the investors will change everything, he said quietly. Your work is going to secure funding that could transform Helix. Our work, she corrected. Your leadership made it possible. The crackling fire filled the silence that followed. When Nathaniel finally spoke, his voice had changed, grown softer. Dahlia, I need to be careful here. There are professional boundaries that I know, she interrupted, heart racing. The non-fraternization policy. Section 5, Paragraph 3 of the Employee Handbook. You've read it recently? A hint of hope colored his question. I needed to remind myself why this, she gestured between them, isn't possible. His hand found hers in the darkness beside the log they shared. It's a good policy. It prevents abuse of power, conflicts of interest. All the things that could compromise the integrity of the research, she agreed, not pulling her hand away. Research matters more than what either of us might want, Nathaniel said, though his thumb traced circles on her palm in contradiction to his words. As the embers died down, they reluctantly separated, each returning to their cabins alone. Dahlia lay awake, contemplating molecular structures and company policies, wondering which bonds were stronger, those between compounds or those forming between two people who understood the weight of what they were creating together. Both in the lab and in these quiet moments outside it, the formula for disaster. The Helix boardroom hummed with tension as Dahlia concluded her presentation. The Phase 2 results had exceeded even their optimistic projections, a 62% reduction in tumor size across all test subjects with minimal side effects. As applause rippled through the room, she caught Nathaniel's eye. His subtle nod conveyed everything words couldn't in this professional setting. Dr. Winters, these results are extraordinary, remarked Victoria Blackwood, head of the board and notoriously difficult to impress. Timetable for Phase 3, 6 months, with proper funding, Dahlia replied confidently, as the meeting adjourned. Dahlia gathered her materials when her phone buzzed. An email from Paragon Pharmaceuticals, Helix's largest competitor, offering her a research director position with double her current salary and complete autonomy over her projects. Everything all right? Nathaniel appeared beside her, noticing. Her expression, just spam, she lied, pocketing her phone. This wasn't the place for that conversation. Later that afternoon, Nathaniel's assistant Josephine knocked on Dahlia's lab door. Mr. Reed would like to see you in his office. When Dahlia arrived, Nathaniel wasn't alone. Victoria Blackwood sat across from him, her expression glacial. Close the door, Dr. Winters, Victoria instructed. We have a situation. Nathaniel's face revealed nothing as he gestured toward a chair. Paragon Pharmaceuticals has made some concerning claims, Dahlia's stomach tightened. What kind of claims? Victoria slid a tablet across the desk. On screen was an industry newsletter with the headline, Helix's breakthrough cancer drug, scientific marvel, or product of executive favoritism. The article implied that Dahlia's research received preferential treatment due to a romantic relationship with Nathaniel. It suggested the drug's accelerated timeline resulted from personal bias rather than scientific merit. Is there any truth to this? Victoria asked, her eyes flicking between them. Absolutely not, Dahlia responded immediately. My research stands on its scientific merits alone, and the rest. Victoria pressed. Nathaniel interjected. There is no inappropriate relationship between Dr. Winters and myself. This is clearly Paragon's attempt to discredit our research before the medical conference next month. Victoria studied them both. They've approached 3 board members suggesting they have photographic evidence from the research retreat. Dahlia's mind raced to their fireside conversation, hands touching, private smiles. Nothing explicitly damning, but enough to feed rumors. Whatever they have would be deliberately misinterpreted, Nathaniel stated firmly. Dr. Winters and I have maintained professional boundaries. It wasn't entirely false they had never crossed. Certain lines, but the emotional connection they'd formed existed in a gray area the employee handbook never addressed. I hope so, Victoria replied, because the timing couldn't be worse. Our investors are watching this cancer treatment closely. Any scandal could spook them. After Victoria left, silence engulfed the office. Nathaniel pinched the bridge of his nose. Paragon offered me a position this morning, Dahlia finally admitted. Research director, double my current salary. Nice. Expression darkened. Are you considering it? Of course not. But it explains their timing. Either I defect to them, or they discredit me here. This is my fault, Nathaniel said quietly. Should have maintained better boundaries. Dahlia, boss. We both made choices, Dahlia countered. Neither of us crossed any lines. That would compromise the research. But we wanted to. The raw honesty in his voice startled her, at least I did. The confession hung between them like an unstable compound, threatening to either catalyze something beautiful or detonate their careers. The treatment matters more than either of us, Dahlia reminded him, echoing his words from the retreat. Thousands of patients are waiting for this breakthrough. I know, he stood, creating distance between them. Which is why I've scheduled an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. I'll handle this. Nathaniel, trust me, Dahlia. Won't let your research be undermined. As she left his office, Dahlia's phone buzzed again. Another email from Paragon. This time with an attachment. A photo of her and Nathaniel by the fire pit, his hand holding hers. Their faces illuminated by flames and something more dangerous than professional respect. The message was simple. Final offer expires tomorrow. After that, this goes public. The formula for disaster was complete all elements in place for a reaction that would change everything. Dahlia hurried back to her lab, desperately seeking a solution that wouldn't sacrifice either the treatment or the man who had come to mean more to her than professional success ever could. Titration point, the boardroom felt suffocating as Dahlia entered. 8 stern faces watched her take the only empty seat directly across from Nathaniel, whose expression remained unreadable. Victoria Blackwood wasted no time on pleasantries. Winters, we've received concerning evidence from Paragon Pharmaceuticals. She slid a folder across the polished table. Inside was the photograph from the retreat, along with several others, Nathaniel and Dahlia walking together on the trail. Standing close in the lab after hours, sharing a quiet laugh in the company cafeteria. Innocent moments made incriminating through context. We've also received this. Victoria produced a copy of Paragon's offer letter. They claim you've been negotiating with them while developing our most valuable intellectual property. Completely false, Dahlia replied, maintaining her composure despite her racing heart. I received unsolicited offers, which I immediately dismissed. My loyalty has never wavered. Yet you failed to disclose these approaches, remarked Jeffrey Pendleton, the CFO, as required by your contract. Before Dahlia could respond, Nathaniel interjected. I believe I called this meeting to address the situation myself. His voice carried quiet authority that silenced the room. The photographs show nothing more than professional collegiality in informal settings. Holding hands is standard professional. Practice now? Victoria asked dryly. The context matters, Nathaniel countered. And the context is that Dr. Winters and I have developed mutual respect while working on a project that will transform cancer treatment. Any personal feelings that may exist have never compromised our professional judgment or the integrity of the research. The word feelings sent a ripple through the board members. So you admit there are personal feelings involved, pressed Amelia Thornton, legal counsel. Nathaniel met Dahlia's eyes briefly before addressing the board. I take full responsibility for any appearance of impropriety. As a CEO, maintaining appropriate boundaries falls primarily on my shoulders. That doesn't answer the question, Victoria insisted. Dahlia couldn't bear to watch Nathaniel shoulder this alone. Board members, I value scientific integrity above all else. Our cancer treatment protocol has undergone the most rigorous testing in Helix's history. Every data point, every trial result has been independently verified. Whatever personal connection exists between Mr. Reed and myself has never influenced the science. Nevertheless, Jeffrey interjected, the appearance of impropriety threatens investor confidence at a critical juncture. The optics are unacceptable. Victoria nodded. Board must consider what's best for Helix and this treatment's future. We have two options. Either Dr. Winters accepts a transfer to our Singapore facility to continue her research away from any suggestion of favoritism, or I resign. Nathaniel completed the sentence. That's why I called this meeting. Shocked silence fell over the room. Dahlia felt the blood drain from her face. That won't be necessary, she said quickly. I'll accept the transfer. No, Nathaniel's voice was firm. The treatment protocols require Dr. Winters' continued presence here through Phase 3 trials. Any disruption risks the efficacy of the final product. Then what do you propose? Victoria challenged. Nathaniel squared his shoulders. Effective. Immediately, I'll step down as CEO, but remain as chairman emeritus with no direct oversight of research projects. This maintains leadership continuity while removing any conflict of interest. The board erupted in overlapping voices. Dahlia sat, stunned, watching the career Nathaniel had built begin to crumble because of their unspoken connection. This is unnecessary, she insisted, when she could finally speak. The research is what matters. I'll resign instead. Absolutely not, Nathaniel countered. Your work will save thousands of lives. Victoria called for order. The board will need to deliberate privately. Both of you wait outside. In the hallway, they stood apart, the company's glass walls offering no privacy for what needed to be said. You can't sacrifice your position, Dahlia whispered fiercely. You've transformed Helix. Some things matter more than titles, Nathaniel replied, his eyes holding hers. Some people matter more. The door opened before Dahlia could respond. Victoria's expression was solemn. We've reached a decision, she announced. Dr. Winters, you'll continue leading the cancer research with additional oversight from an independent committee. Mr. Reed, the board has accepted your offer to step down as CEO, effective after next week's medical conference presentation. As Victoria returned to the boardroom, Dahlia and Nathaniel stood at the titration point of their relationship. Critical moment when one more drop would change everything. I never wanted this, Dahlia said softly. I know, Nathaniel replied. But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm making the right choice for the right reasons. His hand brushed hers. Briefly a momentary connection charged with everything still unsaid between them, before they walked in opposite directions. Each to face the consequences of a reaction neither had intended, but neither truly regretted. Equilibrium 6 months later, the auditorium erupted in applause as Dahlia concluded her presentation at the International Oncology Conference. The Phase 3 results had surpassed even their most optimistic projections, a 78% complete response rate in patients with previously untreatable pancreatic cancer. As the crowd dispersed, Dahlia gathered her materials, exhausted but fulfilled. The path to this moment had been more complicated than she could have imagined when she first discovered the compound. Remarkable work, Dr. Winters. The voice behind her was familiar, yet different, less burdened, perhaps. She turned to find Nathaniel, casually dressed in a blazer and open-collared shirt, rather than his customary suit. The absence of Helix's corporate badge was conspicuous. "Thank you," she replied, her professional smile giving way to something more genuine. "I didn't know you were attending. I wouldn't miss it." His eyes held the same warmth, she remembered. "The Foundation secured funding to bring 50 oncologists from underserved regions to learn your protocol. They're implementing it in communities that typically wait years for new treatments." The Reed Foundation for Medical Accessibility had been his first project after leaving Helix. Using his severance package and considerable industry connections, Nathaniel had created an organization dedicated to ensuring breakthrough treatments reached patients regardless of geography or economic status. "I heard about your work in Eastern Europe," Dahlia said. "Training programs are making a real difference." An awkward silence settled between them, too much left unsaid during the tumultuous months following his resignation. "Do you have time for coffee?" he asked finally. "There's something I'd like to discuss." At a quiet cafe several blocks from the conference center, they sat by a window overlooking a small park. Autumn leaves drifted past, golden in the afternoon light. "Helix announced the treatment's pricing structure yesterday," Nathaniel began after they'd settled. "Considerably lower than industry standard." Dahlia nodded. Victoria surprised everyone. She cited broader market penetration as the business justification, but we both know better. "The board learned something from the whole situation," he observed. "Maybe watching someone walk away from power for principle made an impression." "You never told me how difficult those first months were," Dahlia said quietly. "The industry speculation, the questions about why you really left," Nathaniel shrugged. "It was worth it. The treatment's reaching patients now. That's what matters." "It really all that matters?" Dahlia asked, meeting his eyes directly for the first time. His expression softened. "No, not all." He reached into his messenger bag and produced a folder emblazoned with the Reed Foundation logo. "This is actually why I wanted to meet. We've been developing a program for collaborative research between major institutions and smaller regional hospitals. We need a chief scientific officer who understands both breakthrough science and the importance of accessibility." Dahlia raised an eyebrow. "Are you offering me a job, Mr. Reed?" "I'm proposing a partnership," he corrected. "Your contract with Helix ends next month. You've shepherded the treatment through approval. What comes next is up to you." She opened the folder, scanning the proposal. The Foundation's structure was impressive, international in scope, but focused on practical implementation rather than corporate bureaucracy. "There's no board to answer to," Nathaniel continued. "No shareholders demanding quarterly profits. It's just a commitment to getting treatments to people who need them." "And the non-fraternization policy?" Dahlia asked. A slight smile playing at her lips. "Doesn't exist." His hand found hers across the table. "The Foundation has a strict ethical code about research integrity, but nothing prohibiting personal relationships between consenting adults." Dahlia intertwined her fingers with his, reveling in the simple freedom of the gesture. "I've missed this," she admitted. "Missed you." "I've missed everything about you," he replied. "Your brilliance, your integrity, the way you challenge conventional thinking. These past months have been ... clarifying." "How so?" "I realized I don't regret my choice. Not for a moment. What I regret is that we never had the chance to discover what might exist between us without corporate policies and power. Dynamics complicating everything." Dahlia considered the proposal before her, both professional and personal. "The Foundation's work is important," she acknowledged. "But are you sure mixing business and personal relationships is wise, given our history?" "I'm not sure about anything," Nathaniel admitted with refreshing honesty, "except that some equations deserve the chance to find their natural equilibrium." He reached across the table, his thumb gently tracing the line of her jaw. "No pressure, no timeline. The position is yours regardless of what happens between us. But I'd like the chance to see if what we felt was real or just the forbidden appeal of something against the rules." Dahlia leaned into his touch, the months of professional distance dissolving. "I think we both know it was more than that. Outside." The cafe window autumn leaves continued their dance, finding new patterns, new possibilities in their fall. Inside, two scientists who had sacrificed position for principle found themselves charting a different kind of experiment, one without corporate protocols or predefined outcomes, but with the potential for discovery more meaningful than either had dared hope for when they'd first talked of molecules and medicine in a fluorescent-lit laboratory. To new research partnerships, Dahlia said, raising her coffee cup with a smile that held promise. And to finding equilibrium, Nathaniel added, his eyes reflecting possibilities that extended far beyond science. Artifact.